Greetings, everyone. Good to reconnect with you, and on this 4th of July weekend as I'm recording this podcast for the month of July. Very warm here in Southern California, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of the gems that I learned in my recent Reiki training that I received. The last time I spoke to you in May, later that month, I had the privilege of studying with Frank Arjava Petter and learning the Jikadin Reiki training. So I look forward to steeping you in some of that wisdom that I learned. And also, since it is the 4th of July weekend and the theme is freedom and liberation, I've definitely been contemplating those terms and relating them to my own path. In some ways they also relate to a little bit of what is occurring in the Reiki world and in my Reiki world, and part of the theme of this podcast. And I want to highly recommend to you, if you haven't purchased this book already, Frank Arjava Petter, This is Reiki. It's a wealth of information and has a lot of the history of Reiki and much depth into Usui's original teachings, as well as Hayashi's original teachings. And it's a great complement to whatever lineage of Reiki that you have come through, and you will learn quite a few new gems. There's a beautiful also interview of Usui in this book, and I'm going to touch on that in this podcast. And I've been definitely incorporating much of what's in this book into my own practice and my own teachings, and much of what is in this book was part of the Jikadin Reiki training that I recently went through as well. And it's been really interesting. It always is, every training that I take, to see the new perspective from the teacher that I'm studying with and learn the new gems and allow them to complement my current practice and expand my current practice. With this training that I recently took and in reading this book as well, and with some of the recent changes in the International Center for Reiki Training with William Lee Rand, one of the things that becomes more and more evident to me is that there are so many different ways, different techniques, different paths to the Reiki path, many, many different lineages to the Reiki system. And so all of this put together confirms for me that Reiki really is the same across all the differences and all the variations and all the different lineages. However, the treatment methods and the techniques and even the attunement methods vary considerably from lineage to lineage. And what I discover as I practice it personally and then also professionally and as I teach is that within the variations of the teachings and the attunement methods, the Reiki energy truly sees beyond all of that. The energy itself truly works beyond all of that. It comes really back to the authenticity of the intention, the alignment with the essence of the intention of Reiki. And that is really how Reiki, I find, works and works best in its purity. And in a large way, why Reiki Unleashed was discovered. That term came about a couple of years ago, actually, and it really came out of a very strong, very powerful thunderstorm that we had here in Los Angeles and Marina del Rey, unlike we've ever experienced, where the lightning and the thunder truly felt like there was a crack in the universe. And out of that, I had this sudden inspiration for this word, Reiki Unleashed. And it actually came through me and my now husband, Simon. And the words just kind of rolled out of both of us in a way. And then it really became very clear that it was to be, in a way, the vision and the intention of the work that I share with others, and part of my vision of Reiki being an essential part of global healing and transformation. And it really came out of the desire to personally break free from the constraints of what we may create as humans on the Reiki path, and really unleashing any ill illusions about Reiki across all lineages, allowing Reiki to be truly what it is, which is inclusive of all lineages, inclusive of all paths. And when Usui created, and part of what I'll read to you about his interview, his intention was to keep Reiki free, that it would not be owned by anyone. And he definitely felt strongly that his particular Reiki Ryoho was an original path and original teaching that he discovered, which is the foundation of the entire Reiki world as I see it today. However, that it was really an energy that was available to all. And his strong intention was to make sure that it would not turn into a religion, as many of the healing paths at that time in Japan were, so that it can be accessible to all and available to all individuals from whatever faith, so that it can serve its highest good. And one of the last wishes of Usui, as Frank Petter shared with us, was for the Reiki energy to be a part of healing humanity and the world. I find that in order for that to happen, it must remain inclusive of all, and that within all of the different variations of the way that Reiki is taught and all of the lineages of Reiki, that there must be, in a way, a unification that falls under the umbrella of the heart of Reiki, and that allows for no hierarchy developed around the Reiki system, so that it continues to serve in the highest way, and in a way that's, very similar to our indigenous ways, where we really operated much more in a circular fashion than we really did in a pyramid fashion, where there was an equality in all, and those individuals that held positions in the circle really were of service, rather than when you held a position you were at the top of the pyramid, so that everybody was benefiting, and the benefits were shared equally, rather than placed on a pedestal. And I truly believe that was the heart intention of Reiki's, the Usui Reiki Ryoho and Dr. Usui's creation, and that his work was really about serving rather than about finding a certain status in his community. And that being said, the community from which that rose, there was definitely an honoring system. And Usui is actually in Japan regarded as Usui Sensei versus Dr. Usui. And when it came to the West, and Mrs. Takada was sharing it with the Western world, she termed him Dr. Usui to give him that honorary name. And so Let me share with you some of these beautiful gems from his interview. And if you have this book, you may be familiar. It's on page 67. This is what he states in his interview. In times such as these, happiness is based upon cooperation of humankind and the longing for the progress of society. That is why I will never allow anyone to own it, meaning Reiki, at all. And then he continues to say, our Reiki Ryoho is an absolute original finding, and it is not comparable to any other spiritual path in the world. Spiritual was added by Frank, so in nothing comparable to it, to any path in the world. So, in that statement, he again is stating that it is to remain free and available to all, and that that his system, the Reiki Ryoho, is an original system, that it was developed in such a way. And that was really the amazing work that Usui brought to us with Reiki, is that, Reiki, actually the term Reiki was in Japan before Reiki Ryoho, and he took that term and created the Usui Reiki Ryoho, which is an original teaching that allowed the Reiki energy to be available to all, to move from a place where it was that you needed to be in an illumined state, an enlightened state in order to work. And he says here, the question in this interview, the ability to perform spiritual healing must come only to individuals who were spiritually minded from birth. I don't think anybody can learn it, or can they? What do you think about this? And so Usui answers, no, all the beings who have received the breath of life have been given the spiritual ability to heal as a gift. From nature, God, whatever you call it. Plants, animals, fish, insects, all the same. But human beings, who are the crown of creation, have the most power of all. The Usui Reiki Ryoho has appeared in the world to make it, in parentheses, the spiritual ability to heal inherent to all beings, that's what it means, practical and usable. So that is really what Usui brought to us. He brought us the ability to use what is innate within us, which is what the Reiki energy opens us up to, and the attunement process opens us up to, and then the training teaches us how to make it practical and usable, how to apply it. And when you are attuned to Reiki, as I've said, the attunement process really opens up the light switch within you. And I definitely, before being attuned to Reiki, had a natural gift to healing. As Usui says here, I had the spiritual ability to heal as a gift. It was part of who I was, and all of us as human have that ability, but some of us are more aware of that, and I was definitely more aware of that as a child and as I grew up. And it was not until I was attuned to the Reiki energy and went through the trainings that I truly understood what this gift was and how to utilize it. And then as my own gift was connected to the energy of Reiki and to the system and lineage of the Usui Reiki and the entire Reiki system, my ability to work with my gift exploded, for lack of a better word. It's truly opened in such an amazing way. And also with the attunement process, what happened for me is what the gift that I experienced and my sensitivity that I felt since a young child often scared me. And I had a lack of real awareness of what to do with it. And I felt much more susceptible to negativity because of my sensitivity. And the Reiki system truly allowed me to feel safe in using this energy. And over the years, I have developed my own practice, where what the fears that I had as a young child and then even as a young adult have completely left. And through the Reiki practice, I am empowered with this gift, and I am empowered with the different techniques that I use with Reiki, and I am empowered with the energy itself and the guidance that comes from the attunement process. There's something that occurs through the attunement process, and I watch it every time that I take people through the attunement process. I watch this amazing miracle that happens, this opening and this connecting that they have, that is really, beyond me. Again, with the attunement process, it's not me performing it. I'm the privileged one that gets to witness it, and I get to watch them get connected with this universal flow of Reiki, and they're opening up to this energy, and then they're, in a way, very much like the theme of this podcast and this weekend, liberated and free from the constraints of what limits them in connecting with this flow and this radiance and this guidance that supports them not only in physical healing, but also then in a way of life. And Usui says that here too, about how, let me share with you, there's so many beautiful gems here, but that you begin with the it helps to heal the body and mind, but then it supports a way of life. This part here that I'll read to you: when one's mind is on the healthy path of faithfulness and sincerity, the body becomes healthy by itself. Like this, mind and body become one, and one completes his life with peace and joy. You heal yourself and the diseases of others, and increase your own happiness and that of others. And this was an answer to what is the Usui Reiki Ryoho. And then he says about the Reiki energy, and when you're attuned to it, because energy and light radiate from all parts of the practitioner's body, mainly energy and light appear from the eyes, the mouth, and the hands, and the practitioner. So in a way, that is a description of how there is that opening and that energy flowing through after the attunements. He also shares here more about how everybody, even the people who have received only the Shoden, which was the first level of Reiki, that is the Japanese term for level 1 Reiki, have achieved the ability to heal disease. That is the characteristic of our spiritual healing method, that you can learn very easily to do such a difficult thing. And that also was my experience through the attunement process, is that the attunement process and the training that I went through also freed me to feel at ease and safe to not only use it for myself, which is the primary use of Reiki, the way that Takata taught it. Takata was really the one who brought to us the self-treatment method to the degree that we experience it here. She really emphasized self-treatment and really helped us develop that and anchor that. And many of those that are, of her lineage and direct descendants are very strong about that. And I find that I'm indebted to her for that teaching, because I truly find that in my earlier years of Reiki, I, worked much more passionate about working on others, because it was so amazing to watch what was happening and also to feel my own benefits from working on others. And it was really halfway into my career with Reiki that I discovered that the self-treatment is just as essential as working on others and benefiting from that. But that was what was freeing for me, was that from the attunement process and the training, I was liberated to share this gift and to witness what was happening to the individuals that I was working with, and to witness the energy of Reiki. And that was the liberating part of Reiki as well, is that I definitely experienced more of a depletion prior to my attunement process, working with my personal gift, when I worked with the Reiki energy and, was shown how I needed to let go and let Reiki, then the benefits for the individual I was working on and myself were exponential. And consequently, I experienced personal healing while working on others. Because it was not me doing the healing, it was the Reiki energy. And I was a facilitator, and as a result of facilitating the energy, you're receiving it. And that's the beauty of Reiki. It truly is the beauty of Reiki. And so that experience of fullness that comes from practicing Reiki and receiving the gift of Reiki, I think also is really beautifully described here with the interview question of, does Usui Reiki Ryoho heal diseases only? And Usui answers, no, it doesn't just heal the diseases of the physical body. It can correct bad habits like psychological illness, depression, weakness, fear, indecisiveness, nervousness. With it, meaning Reiki, the mind, meaning the mind of the practitioner, becomes godlike or Buddha-like, and it becomes your life mission to help our fellow men. Through this Buddha-like nature, you make yourself and others happy. And that has really been my experience of Reiki, truly been my experience of Reiki, and part of it, the way that it has liberated and freed me, and part of my passion of sharing it and continuing to keep it liberated and free, and inclusive of all paths, of all lineages, and integration of all the paths and lineages, so that the best of all are continuing to serve humanity and continuing to grow, so that really the vision and last wish, as Frank Petter described, of Usui, that Reiki would help the healing of humanity in the world, is realized. And that is definitely very much in alignment with my vision and mission, and the vision and mission of Sacred Ventures and Reiki Unleashed. Usui also left us with the 5 Reiki principles. He really saw how individuals that were coming for treatment, for physical treatment, were going back in their lives and partaking in their different habits and, in their behaviors, and coming back and needing more healing. And so he developed the 5 Reiki principles, the Gakkai, and as a way of life, so that, individuals, both practitioners and as well as clients, had the ability to live these principles and move beyond just continually trying to attain physical healing and moving towards more of a spiritual healing, which is the ultimate gift of Reiki, that it really liberates the body, but ultimately liberates the mind and the spirit. And so today we're going to end our podcast with the 5 Reiki principles, and in Japanese. And one of the ways that I have been teaching the 5 Reiki principles and have been using them and is in conjunction with the Gasho meditation. And I've recently did a podcast as well on the Gasho meditation and the power of the Gasho meditation, and staying in the Gasho meditation for 5, 10, 20 minutes. And so what I'd like to do on our closure is to continue with that and add to that the 5 Reiki principles, the Gakkai, and also accompany them with the Japanese words, statements. The Japanese way of saying the 5 Reiki principles has a spiritual power. The Japanese words have a spiritual power. They're called Kododama. And recently, as I was teaching a Kundalini yoga class, I had a client who brought her partner, who's Japanese, and they were just on Mount Kurama in Kyoto this past year, and it was just beautiful to be in their presence. It was such a gift to feel the energy, and he was sharing with us about his name, that has a spiritual power, and he was telling us its meaning, and he told us that that is termed Kododama. And I giggled sharing with him. I just, learned about Kododama through my training with Frank Petter and discovering the power of that with the Gokai, the 5 Reiki principles. And so the power of these words, when they're said out loud, brings an energy and a vibration and a frequency, and aligns you more greatly to the intention of the 5 Reiki principles. And so I'm going to say them here, but you can also look them up online, and there are many recordings of how to say them. There's a little variation with some of the translations, but and excuse me too if my pronunciation is not quite correct for any of those out there listening to this podcast. So what I want to suggest for you is to go ahead and place your hands in Gasho meditation. And this is a practice, again, that you can continue on your own. I have one student particularly that is in Australia. She may be listening to this podcast, who had been performing the Gasho and reciting the Gokai daily as part of her Reiki practice. So she may still be doing that. And so this is definitely something that you can do on a daily basis to set your day and to support you on your day. And again, when I first resonated with these principles and learned these principles, it was really important for me to align to the reality that it's not that I'm not going to be angry, but it's that I'm going to let it go and choose to focus Reiki on my anger and to Reiki the situation and bring Reiki into that feeling. And so really letting go of anger and knowing that, harboring the anger will really only damage us. And letting go of the worry as it arises, that it really never really serves to worry. It's such a natural disposition of humanity, but really it doesn't serve. It's not that we're not going to, but it's that we really choose to let go of it when it arises and come back to the third principle, be grateful. Focusing on what we have to be grateful for. When we are focused on that, then it's, easier to not worry and to also let go of the anger. And then devoting yourself to your duties, bringing yourself into the present, devoting yourself to the duties, whatever it may be, right at hand. Whether it be devoting yourself to your mission, to your dharma, to your destiny, but also devoting yourself to your laundry, to your gardening, to your washing of your dishes, to your budgeting, devoting yourself to those duties, bringing that spiritual elegance to the simplicity of day-to-day living, truly. And that's really the beauty of these principles and what they bring to us. And then the last is being kind to others. Of course, treating others as we would like to be treated. And if we may, turn in a way which is natural, where we treat someone unkindly, that we take the actions to shift that or to, repair that, whether it be in person or, energetically. Always thinking kindly to those, even those that we have anger or concern with, to think kindly towards them. Bring your hands in Gasho meditation. Inhale deeply and exhale fully. And again, inhaling deeply and exhaling fully through your mouth. Let out a sound. And one more time, inhale and exhale. Continue to breathe naturally in and through your nose, moving out of the mind into the breath, into the body, filling your body with breath, allowing the breath to relax, release any holding, any tension, releasing any holding in the lower back, mid-back, upper back, between the shoulder blades, neck and head, and into the scalp muscles, face muscles and jaws, until you're filled with breath. Breath, breathing body, body, breathing breath. Normally I suggest that you can be laying down during my podcast meditations, but this time I'm going to encourage you to be sitting up, palms together at the heart in Gasho. And you can focus on the middle fingers, which is the original way that Usui taught the Gasho, allowing any thoughts that come through to pass, coming back to your breath, and coming back to the points, the tips of your middle fingers. And as you deepen in your breath, feeling that alignment with your breath, letting thoughts pass, and also connecting in with the earth, with your breath, grounding yourself with your breath, so you're feeling that union between your breath, your body, and the earth. And again, as thoughts may arise, coming back to your breath, coming back to the points between your middle, your fingers. Of course, some of you may also want to focus on the third eye. So find that point that works best for you, whether it be the third eye or the middle fingers. And then always coming back to the breath. Remembering that as our palms are in Gasho meditation, Reiki begins to flow, and in the original teachings of Reiki with Usui, as soon as you're attuned to the Reiki energy, the Reiki will flow any time that the intention is there. So we can, if we like, do the formality of bringing our hands up to Reiki Ho and taking a time here, indication of Spirit inviting Reiki to flow in our highest good. Any intentions you may have, and then coming back to Gasho, feeling that union between your breath, your body, the earth, and Reiki. Reiki always giving from an unlimited source, never runs out. And our job is simply to align and to receive. And so as your palms are together, 72,000 nerve endings at your palms, impacting your entire body begins to receive a treatment in Gasho. Just continuing in that stillness, opening up that inner space, expansive space. We're going to recite the 5 Reiki principles, and these can help us in deepening, creating more expansive space. And whether it be in the middle of the day, the beginning of the day, or the evening when you're listening to this, the 5 Reiki principles were intended to be utilized throughout the day. And so we can recite them. His intention, Usui's intention, was for us to bring our hands together in Gasho every morning and evening and recite these principles so that we can stay connected with them throughout the day and throughout our lives. And so we begin Kyo Dake wa, just for today. Okuruna, don't get angry. Shinpai suna, don't worry. Kansha shite, be grateful. Gyo hageme, devote yourself to your duties. Hitu ni shinsetsu ni, be kind to others. Keeping your hands in Gasho, just contemplating those principles. We'll recite them 2 more times. And this time I'm going to just say them in Japanese. Kyo dake wa, okuruna, shinpai suna, kansha shite, gyo hageme, hitu ni shinsetsu ni. Kyo dake wa, okuruna, shinpai suna, kansha shite, gyo hageme, hitu ni shinsetsu ni. So just aligning with that vibration and frequency, remaining in Gasho. And drinking in the beauty, really the miracle, in many ways, the simplicity of Reiki. And so you can remain in Gasho for as long as you like, just allowing that percolation of the energy and the principles, integration into your being, opening up and creating vast space and supporting you and freeing yourself and liberating yourself. Truly the essence of what Reiki does for all of us. So it's been a delight to connect with you. Very excited to continue to share this Reiki path with you, and as well as the Kundalini Yoga path. I am continuing with my monthly women's Kundalini Yoga circles. That's the 3rd Tuesday of every month, and also the first Tuesday is now open to men and women, which is building, very exciting. So please join us. That's the first Tuesday. The Reiki Circle is the second Friday of the month. So, and then of course I'm teaching all the levels of Reiki and infusing them with much of this good new energy. So please join us, and you can look up all of the details at sacredventures.com or reikiunleashed.com. I'm available for one-on-one sessions in person or over the phone, wherever you are, wherever you may be listening to this podcast. I am available. And please visit my website for all upcoming events as well. I so delight in sharing this path with you. It's such an honor and a gift. And I wish you a delicious, and yes, my new word, a Reiki-licious rest of your summer, and I look forward to connecting with you in September. So as we begin to move into the fall season. Much Reiki, aloha, love, Sat Nam.